welcome to the Personal Injury Law Show. This show talks about everything current in the law of personal injuries and obviously of importance to you, the viewer. My name's Tony Carbone. I'm a personal injury lawyer with 30 years experience. With me tonight, I've got a partner in the law firm in transport accidents, Don Maffia. Good evening, Don.
Good evening, Tony. Good evening, Viv. Good evening, viewers.
And the delightful and effervescent Vivian Ryan, co-founder, former lawyer and director of Gravia Media. How are you, Viv?
Great, Tony. Hi, Don. Good evening, viewers.
Tonight, viewers, we're very fortunate to have James Callanan. He's the co-founder of Roadwhyz Victoria. They're a group of people that look after our kids on the road. They educate. They are there to try and make sure that our children are safe on the road. So please stay tuned for that.
Well, Tony, we always say the key to reducing the road toll and injuries is education.
Yes.
And Jason and his group are actually doing that for kids aged between, I believe, school age and even up to 24 years of age.
Well, we're going to get his story, Don. He was a paramedic for many, many years. And that was the motivating factor for him to set up this organisation.
But first, Tony, let's talk about what's in the news.
Viv, first up, we've got this subway death suit. Tell us a bit more about the facts of this case.
So this is a really, really tragic story of a 15-year-old boy who was away at camp. It was a go-karting camp in Oakley. He had severe peanut allergies and unfortunately during the course of this camp, the camp organisers had got Subway for the patrons to consume. One of those items was a cookie that allegedly had elements of nuts in it. This poor boy suffered an anaphylactic fit and died a week later in hospital. So, I mean, it's an awful, awful story. The boy's parents are suing based on a lack of procedure, based on a lack of an EpiPen being present. And also, I don't believe, and again, these are alleged commentaries from the parents, that they had even looked at his information sheet, which basically highlighted his allergy to nuts. It's an awful story.
This is something that happens all too often, sadly.
Well, I was going to say
the
that.
family's got claims for nervous shock.
Psychological damage, yes.
Okay.
And so that's the thing, like we've said, the registration form did say he was allergic to nuts, and obviously someone didn't read it or there wasn't a process in place. And unfortunately, it's not the first time we hear about this.
No, it's
school
happened
camps.
It's sad.
You know, this food, and you know, you've got the Go-Karting Association, which has organised this. Yeah, well aware, they should have been aware that he had allergic to nuts, and the end result could be unfortunate what's happened here.
But I think that the issue really is here is that the parents are also asking, and I think they're taking action against Subway for them not actually asking the question, who are they feeding and does anyone have any allergic reaction? Now, I don't know whether or not that is actually fair to put it on to Subway. I mean, what are your thoughts on?
Yeah, look, they've got to have some responsibility, I guess, because, you know, who knows what's the ingredients in all the foods that we eat.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, does that mean every time you go buy something, say McDonald's or Subway, they're going to be asking you, or even catering, asking you, who are you feeding?
Yeah.
I mean, where's the
No, well, you can have it on
That's
the wrapper, can't you? You know, this contains whatever.
Yeah, well, obviously this boy didn't have the wrapper. But again, I guess to play devil's advocate, to what extent should this boy have been carrying his own EpiPen? Or did he have an EpiPen?
Anyway, we'll come back to the story because it's obviously going to unfold in the months to come. Yeah. Asbestos found in children's crayons, Don.
Yeah, this is a scary thought. This is where imported crayons, and they included cartoon characters, it's Peppa Pig and Dora.
These crayons have come from China and they've found to have asbestos contained in them. Now, before we all go crazy, apparently the testing that's been done is even if they do eat the crayons or are inhaling or being around the crayons, the children aren't really likely to suffer from asbestos. So
well, we wouldn't know that because it usually doesn't manifest itself for 30, 40 years.
A couple of things. With my daughter, I think there's a few times we bought these crayons because they're cheap crayons you can buy from even Officeworks.
And $2 shops.
$2 shops. So, and they're very popular. But look, I think, haven't we already realised as a world society that asbestos is not a good material to use? So why are we still using it?
They usually stick everything in their mouth, don't they?
Well, Tony, that's all right.
Hey,
but it could
do.
be...
It's just a fact.
Oh, they absolutely do. I mean, my children are beyond that now, but...
If those asbestos fibres become airborne, and anyone around there, not even children,
what
parents...
Airborne? They chew it. They put it in their mouths.
But just say we shouldn't be using asbestos.
So what do we do about these guys?
Oh, well, they've obviously taken them off the shelf, and they'll just blacklist or black ban that company that provided the crayons, I guess.
Yep.
I think as parents, though, they need to be mindful of what they're using for their children, for drawing items, but also then if anyone's concerned, they should probably get some legal advice.
Exactly.
Correct.
The cow cull went to the Court of Appeal. The RSPCA lost their appeal, Don.
They did.
And ordered to pay $1.167 million to the cattle owners.
Because they euthanised 100
jumped
cows
the gun.
in Victoria, and they were found that the organisation acted hastily and negligently in doing so. So they literally did jump the gun and put down 100 cows. So I think there's the irony, isn't it? RSPCA is supposed to look after these animals, and they've jumped the gun and put down 100.
Viv, what about consultation with the owners? Would they have rang them up or something?
Oh, who
You'd
knows?
think?
But I mean, I think RSPCA generally act in the
Do a
best
good
interests of animals. So, you know, obviously there's a lot more circumstances surrounding this case. But yeah, it is interesting that they were found.
Someone was very quick off the mark. Right? Oh, this is, Don, this is right up your alley, mate. Witness protection. This case involving a cat fight between a couple of people. There was an issue about a dog and a cat. Tell us about it.
That's right, Tony. It's witness protection. So it's about where cats, where a cat was left in the will, 20 cats, I believe, were left $20,000. So the owner bequeathed to the cats $20,000 as long as to look after the cats. As long as the cats were alive, the money stays with them to look after them. But if they died,
It goes to the family.
it goes to the family. So the worry is that the family will try and put a hit on the cats so they can get the money that they owed to them. So and the cats are being put in a place that no one knows, and it's secret witness protection being looked after.
They've even changed the microchip on the cat so they can't.
Oh no, that was a different case. But I think the moral of the story is if you are going to bequeath monies to pets, make sure that there isn't a secondary component that if they die, then they go on to the family members or friends. I mean, I don't know how you manage that, but. Yeah, it's a pretty horrible story.
It is.
Only 20
and it is
grand.
only $20,000.
Yeah, but that's as we know, Tony, every will, no will was so watertight that it can't be challenged, and that's what the family are trying to do here. In this way, what the family's saying, the money's theirs. They should have been bequeathed to them, not to the cats. So one way of doing it is killing off the cats and get the money. But the other way is obviously they can go to court.
Nobody knows where the cats are.
No one knows where the cats are. But the other way, Tony, as you know, unfortunately, you can challenge the will.
Yep.
So anyway.
Who's going to defend the cat? Anyway, on that note, viewers, we've got to go to a sponsors break. Viv, thanks for coming on board as usual.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Tony.
Viewers, stay tuned. After the break, we've got James Callanan from Roadwhyz Victoria. Viewers, welcome back to the show tonight. We're very fortunate to have James Callanan. He's a paramedic of 20 years experience. He set up Roadwhyz Victoria. It's an organisation designed to help young people understand the dangers of being on the road. Welcome aboard, Jason. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Tell us a bit more about yourself. What do you do these days?
Well, I'm a full-time intensive care paramedic, and I've been doing it for around 20 years now, and have worked in a number of other states in Northern Territory, Queensland, and now down here. And yeah, that's what I do.
And also, you're on the council for Chandler?
Yes, I'm a local councillor and deputy mayor for
Deputy Mayor of the Yarra Rangers.
Yes.
So you're out in the community?
Yes.
Keep very busy.
Yep.
But Jason, so you've come to set up this Roadwhyz program. What made you set it up? Was it your experience with trauma, your day-to-day job as being a MICA paramedic?
Yeah, well, almost every day I see things that happen out on the road and find it frustrating that all I do is pick up the pieces. So I'd like to try and be more preventative and do something prior to something happens.
But given, Jason, that you're a MICA, so you will see probably the worst of the worst road trauma that comes around.
Absolutely.
The intensive care. So you see a lot.
It's amazing. It's amazing what you'd see. In fact, on Saturday night when we were at the Bully Zero Foundation dinner, the policewoman that attended the scene of a suicide was with the mother, and when I was talking to the mother, she had tears in her eyes. And this is an experienced hardened police officer, so it's extraordinary. So I'd imagine what you've seen in your time.
Yep.
How many members in your organisation, Jason?
There's about 5 of us,
Okay.
and we range from police officers from the Highway Patrol major collisions unit. We are victims of road trauma. We also have emergency department nurses that talk to us and other volunteers that help us.
And one of the members apparently lost a child. Is that correct?
Yes. One of our members, who was a co-founding member, she lost a son to road trauma and has told her story a number of times for our program.
So she'd be out there giving a pretty powerful message to the community, wouldn't she?
Absolutely.
Don, a lot of it's education, which is pretty important, really. The starting point is education, isn't it?
Exactly. And you start when they're young. I mean, when they're about to start driving and all those things, getting that education done right before, not during, right before they start. Yeah. But Jason, to tell us about what is the program, what is Roadwhyz program, how does it work?
Roadwhyz is a program that takes our highest risk category population, which is our P-plate drivers, and takes them through a journey of what happens out on the road. And there's no cotton wool, there's no lighting camera, there's no sound or anything like that at all. It's what happens out on the road. It's real, and it gives them an understanding and an appreciation of what we see out on the road in regards to road trauma. And then we take them through how to recognise them. What are those risks that they fall under, and also then give them skills that then they can take away and potentially save a life through CPR skills, or if they come across a crash, so we can give them some ideas and some skills to take away and utilise and help us if we ever come across a crash, and also save lives. And that's what we're trying to do. And at the end of the day, if they can walk away and make a scene safe when they come across a crash or someone that's collapsed, put them on their side, we've done our job.
Jason, the course covers a lot of things like driving, steering, crashing and death. So it's pretty broad. Speeding and stopping, anatomy of a crash, drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
So you go into a lot of topics.
Absolutely.
Is it hard hitting? Yeah.
It is hard hitting, and we make no apologies for being hard hitting, and I think the kids appreciate that. We don't stand up there and tell them off and point fingers at them and say you're being naughty. We say we've given you information now. It's your job now to take it away and decide whether or not you're going to use it.
We should say the title of your the program is Choice and Consequences. So
Yes.
the kids have choices, and
That's
obviously
right.
from those choices there are consequences.
Yep.
I guess, Don, a lot of the problem when you're dealing with kids in that group of 16 to 18 and even 24-year-olds, they forget what the consequences are. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but they're also they're all new to that world as well. All of a sudden they've got their licence, they're 18, they get a car, they drive around, they become more independent. They've got a bunch of friends. The whole scene changes as well. All of a sudden they're legal to drink alcohol, they can get into nightclubs. So it's just a mixture of all these things going in there, cocktail of trouble.
Yeah, it is. Jason, you go to a school and you present to how many? 30, 40, 50?
Anywhere from 30 up to 200.
Okay. In a typical session, how would you start?
Well, I give them a bit of a scenario to start off with where we talk about that ripple effect, where it's not just them that's involved in a crash. And I get two kids to stand up in the middle of the classroom or the stadium, wherever we are, and then I give them a scenario and I go around and say, is mum and dad still around? Yes. Grandparents still around? Yes. And by the end of it, I have everybody standing up and I say, look around, and it's not just you that's involved in a crash. If you get hurt or injured or die, it's not just you that's affected. And everybody around them looks around and says, and it takes an appreciation and sees, well, wow, it's not just me. And also those other kids around go, well, I know him, and if he gets involved in a crash, that's going to affect me. So it brings it back to them being a bit vulnerable about that it could happen to them. Because we know nowadays is kids it's never going to happen to me.
No. They don't really understand. You know, they feel infallible. Don, this sort of a course would be pretty expensive to run too, I'd imagine. You've got booklets and information, and so...
Just time as well, people's time.
How do you fund it?
Local business, local sponsorship, and that's pretty much it, what we look for. We try and keep the program to a very bare minimum cost, around $10 per kid. And if you look on any other sort of program there, you're looking at $500 per hour, and that's what we're trying not to charge, trying to get into schools, and we volunteer our time as well.
And it's not a case where you just talking to the kids, giving the version, they actually have to do activities and sort of like tests as well at the end of the
Well,
each outcome.
we don't make it theory, we also give it practical as well. So it breaks it up and it gives it more of a debrief for them.
Do you find that there's a massive variance in terms of knowledge about cars between the different kids?
Oh yes, absolutely. From anything where kids don't even know how to take a wheel off to you get those real bright sparks that know all about cars and things like that. And we talk
I
about
don't know about taking I don't even know how to take a wheel off these days. You've got to pin it under a certain spot and you can do a lot of damage to yourself in the car. If you don't do it
Absolutely,
properly.
yeah. But we give kids appreciation of how to look at a tyre to see if it's bald or not. And that's very, very simple. And they take it away. Kids are going to buy second-hand cars these days. Yeah. So,
But even the steering wheel, I said to my wife, I got into a four-wheel drive, I said, Anne, something wrong with your car. She goes, what do you mean? And one of the tyres was flat. You should be able to pick that up, shouldn't you?
it should be, and it should be part of the driver education program.
We had a discussion a while ago about, taking some of these people that like to speed and that onto, say, a track like Sandown or Calder. Do you talk about that on your program?
One thing we don't do is educate people how to drive.
Okay.
That's not my field,
Okay.
and so we refer them on to professionals.
Viewers, we've got to go to a sponsors break. After the break, we'll continue this discussion with Jason Callanan. Viewers, welcome back to the show. We're very fortunate to have Jason Callanan from Roadwhyz to talk about the education that his organisation gives to kids that are about to drive or on old plates or just started driving about the risks of being on the road. Now, Jason, one of the things that you do is you talk about the effects of speed, keeping your licence, your car, fines incurred, etc., etc. Method of delivery, every now and then you get a police highway patrol officer on. What do they do?
Well, they go through what they see, their eyes, and give them more of a human touch in regards to policing. And so they're not just the guy that goes out and books people, but what are the other roles of policing in regards to notifications of death and investigations of crashes?
So they're just not the bad guys. They're good guys. They're the ones that don't want to charge you. They want to prevent
That's
these
right.
accidents happening.
We want to break that myth, and also these police are the ones that got to be approachable as well. And if we try and knock down those barriers, kids are going to be more open to going to police.
And what you do is you increase awareness.
Yes.
You also explain what the police officer's role in society is.
Yes.
Create relationships. You also talk about consequences of risk-taking behaviour.
Yes.
That's pretty big, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. We give them what can happen if they partake in risk-taking behaviour. At the end of the day, they could crash, but there's not just crashing. There's also penalties. They could lose their licence. They could get a criminal record. They not be able to go overseas anymore. So we give them all these things about what can happen if you volunteer or partake in this behaviour.
And the next part, you talk about deceleration. What's deceleration?
We give a bit of science about road trauma and what we need to consider when we come across a crash. It's not just about they've got a bump on their head and they should be okay. We go right down into what happens inside the brain and give them really good detail about what does a paramedic, what does a doctor think about when someone gets bumped on the head or has got a bruise across their chest from a seatbelt injury. And let them know that it's not just the outside, there's an injury there, but what can happen inside as well that they don't understand. They think because they're wearing a helmet or wearing a seatbelt, they're going to be okay. But we talk about all those injuries of what happens inside the body.
Jason, how do you cope with the road deaths and also the seriously maimed people that you've had to attend over 20 years?
Look, I think the high trauma, the big trauma that I see, my skills, I'm out there and I've got skills that I can use to try and save lives. What frustrates me mostly is the aftermath, having to tell the family that their child has died or seeing the family being affected by it. That's where I find it hard to deal with. But we have a great system in the ambulance where we've got lots of peer support, lots of counselling, and we utilise that.
Yep. Don, when they attend the scene of these accidents, those early stages of an accident site are pretty diabolical, aren't they? Because there's carnage everywhere. You've got to see if you can save a life, and it'd be almost horrendous to really think about it and put yourself in that situation, wouldn't it?
Look, Tony, in our industry, personal injuries, we do read a lot of ambulance reports, and the things that they see, they're first at the scene. And so are the police, but in terms of the body, the injuries and all that, you would see the things and read the things that they have to do just to get the person into the back of the ambulance and take them to hospital. And it's continuing. You just keep reading it, the time keep hearing about it. It's just not as easy to pick them up, put them to hospital. You've got to stabilise them at the scene and then take them and go through the whole steps. And even one thing, Jason, you talk about the ER. I think it's titled "Welcome to the ER" in your course. Do you want to tell us a bit about what does that mean? What do you say to the kids about the ER?
Well, it's part of our journey of what happens on the roadside right through to the families affected at the end. And we take them through what happens in the emergency department. And that means showing them what we use. We're right down through the needles, the tubes, and showing them videos and handing them around. And the kids sort of put their hands up at times, but then also say to us, we really like this because it's very interactive and gives a very big appreciation of what happens behind those closed curtains. And that's why we close those curtains. It may look barbaric, but it's there to save lives.
Jason, you deliver about 2 sessions a month.
Yes.
Would you like to do more?
Absolutely. And with funding, if we can get people out there to fund us through support, we can do a lot more of this. We need a bigger team. Having someone say their message or their story on a weekly basis, I would find very, very hard to do. So the more people we get to volunteer and help us do this, the better.
So you'd like paramedics,
doctors, nurses, doctors.
Maybe even lawyers that do this sort of work, that see the aftermath of...
Absolutely. Any sort of experience of road trauma, to give them appreciation of what happens out there, can help us.
What about the TAC? Do they sponsor you in any shape or form?
No sponsorship at all. They do appreciate what we do now, and it's been a long, hard road for us, but they're certainly starting to see what we do is making a difference.
Have they got a program where they go to schools and educate the children like you do?
There's no specific program like what we do. We're quite unique in what we do. There is other programs out there that talk more about drugs and alcohol, but snippets of what we do. Ours is a holistic approach, and we give kids skills as well, not just tell them off. We give them something to take
Don,
away.
this is something I'd like to be done on a broader base. Do you agree?
Yeah, look, I totally agree. I quite enjoy looking at what the course is about. I think it's a correct message getting out to the kids, because there's so many facets to being involved in an accident. You've got the choices, then you've got when it happens, and then the consequences. And Tony, you and I, we've seen the consequences of it all. We do personal injuries, and the consequences are not good.
Well, I think one of the things we could do, and I don't know what you think about this, Jason, at school we worry too much about mathematics, English, the usual core subjects. What about things like, the risks of being on the road and alcohol and drugs, bullying and other things, and just communication, and treating each other with some level of dignity and respect?
Yep, absolutely.
Don't you think?
Absolutely. I think that would be a good idea. Giving us some life skills, I think, is a big thing.
And that could be a core subject, don't you think, Don?
I think so. Well, Jason, what's the vision of Roadwhyz? I understand you said you want to get some every week, every day, get out there. But I understand that there is a vision that you want Roadwhyz going to become a compulsory part of getting your licence.
Well, we think now with the new government in place, they're very, very proactive in road trauma education, and we see we do have a big role in regards to continuing our program on a broader basis, getting into every school. And that might mean a team of us or representatives from out the state to get in there. To get into every school is our goal.
And people should go to your website. You got the website set up?
Go to my website, go to our Facebook page. Any support is much appreciated.
And look, we'll get you back another time. just to let us know how you're going, and maybe we should aim for a big ball for Roadwhyz. What do you think?
That would be fantastic.
Anyway, thanks for coming on board, Jason.
Thank you.
Don, always a pleasure to get you on board. Viewers, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for future episodes. Go to YouTube for our past episodes. Go to our social media platform, and always remember to stay safe.